Hello everyone, this is the first episode of Ryan's Report by Ryan Hain, presented by Afternoon Analytics. The last few seasons for college football have signaled that major changes are coming from behind the scenes. Let's talk about what those changes are and their implications. You can't talk about changes in college football without talking about NIL, or name, image, likeness. This means that college athletes are able to profit off their name and partner with businesses to earn money from advertisements and endorsements. Previously, this was not allowed for scholarship athletes, and this space is still changing as athletes, schools, and businesses are trying to explore these previously uncharted waters. Another big change going into this season is major conference realignment. Schools like Texas and Oklahoma announced that they are moving from the Big 12 to the SEC, and USC and UCLA are moving from the Pac-12 to the Big 10. These changes were made because of the much larger media rights deals that the SEC and Big 10 can offer. The next and most recent change announced was that the College Football Playoff Committee has agreed to expand the playoff from 4 teams to 12 teams. As previously mentioned, there have been large media deals announced, particularly for the Big Ten, who announced an $8 billion deal with Fox, NBC, and CBS, a mark only the SEC could potentially match, and this sparked more conversation about athlete compensation related to NIL, and especially the prospect of paying them a portion of TV revenue. The final big change is the transfer portal. This allows athletes to change schools whenever they want without having to sit out a year. This has already had a large impact on schools across college athletics. So, all these big changes are happening, and is college football equipped for this extreme period of change? Well, first, the question is, why is college football different from other college sports? There's a pretty easy answer to this, and it's money. According to YahooFinance.com, college football brings in an average of $31.9 million per school. And the second biggest is basketball, which brings in only $8.1 million per school. And since college football is so different and such a bigger moneymaker than other college sports, the question is, should college football break away from the NCAA? The majority of athletic directors want to leave the NCAA, and Tom McMillan, the head of Lead One, says it's clear that no one wants to see the status quo. So we've sent out a survey to the ADs asking them what they think the problems are and how they can be fixed. So since the majority of athletic directors want to leave the NCAA, what do they do now? So according to the Sports Business Journal, there have been 2 proposed solutions. First is the Knight Commission, which is an entirely new entity and its sole focus is on college football. It'd be funded from the revenue generated from the college football playoff, and the top 131 schools in FBS across 10 conferences, plus Notre Dame and a handful of other independents, would be included. The next solution is moving everything under the college football playoff. And this is backed by influential Ohio State athletic director Gene Smith, who says, "You've got so much of the structure in place already, I just think it'll work." These 2 solutions have plenty of pros and cons, and it'll be very interesting to see over the coming years which one they choose, or if there's a completely different option that they choose. But for now, there's plenty of remaining questions. First, if college football breaks away from the NCAA, what happens to the other sports? The NCAA has control of the Frozen Four for hockey and March Madness for basketball. Next, there are legal implications of name, image, likeness. California is leading the charge for a lot of different NIL things, but specifically for if schools should compensate the athletes for their performance. It'll be very interesting to see how that ends up and if other states follow suit. Next is the huge media deals. Like I said before, the Big Ten has already announced an $8 billion deal, and should athletes be compensated for that? That's another question. And also, the SEC should match or even break the $8 billion that the Big Ten got. Next is conference realignment. There'll be more and more schools that'll join these, like the SEC or the Big Ten. So what will happen to the other conferences that they left? And will the SEC and Big Ten just take over as the two mega conferences? There's a lot of huge questions and implications for that. And again, it'll be interesting to see over the next coming years what happens related to that. And finally is the college football playoff expansion. Like I said before, there's now 12 teams coming in the next couple years rather than 4. That means a lot more revenue, and I wonder how the college football landscape will change in terms of how recruitment will happen, how the transfer portal will be affected now that more teams can join, and will there be less money for the bowl games, less importance? I don't know. It'll be extremely interesting to see how all this will change in the coming years. So that's all for this week for Ryan's Report. Thank you for listening, and comment with any questions or any other comments you may have. And check back next week.